Hey Westside, it's about 5:30 and President Trump has declared a state of emergency. Our governor has declared a state of emergency. My kids were very excited to tell me that school's been canceled till the 24th. How are you doing? These are anxious times for many people. And as a church, we have a unique place to stand. We have a special hope. In the midst of all of the chaos going around us, we have a faith and a belief that God is with us and for us. He gave His Son to die for us. He knows the end. He has power over everything. And so we've been meeting today and we've been talking about how to respond to these things. And we've made some decisions. And they're really in line with what we've been trying to really be as a church for the last 2,000 years. The church has always represented a unique expression of hope in the world. Because we know the end, because we believe there is a God who has come to give His Son to die for us, to redeem us, to bring us into eternity, we have a unique perspective. I was reading C.S. Lewis's Education During Wartime, a little sermon that he gave, and he was asking the question about why do we continue learning, why do we continue the arts in the midst of war? And I think he made some important observations. One thing he said was, war really isn't any different in the sense that we are always on the precipice between life and death. It just sharpens the fact that death is a real reality. And the reality with this coronavirus is that it is truly something that's probably going to be unique as what we've experienced as a country. And everybody is trying to respond appropriately. So the questions become, as we are in this time and we, the church, are responding, and we don't want to just react in fear. There's things that we want to embrace, there's things that we want to do. We have hope, we have reason to keep going. We're not going to give up all things. Lewis's comment is that we do education and we do arts because they're worth doing. And even if there was no war, if we didn't do it in war, then we shouldn't be doing it if there is no war. There are things that we're going to do because they're worth doing. We're going to worship. We're going to pray. We're going to continue to live out the Jesus way of life. We're going to witness. We're going to love. One of the other things is that the church has always been at the forefront of responding to situations, looking to do the very best for our community and for the world. Because we know that our lives are secure for eternity. Because we know that we have a true and lasting hope. We don't respond to situations the way everybody else does. These are anxious times. I was thinking of Philippians 4. Do not be anxious in anything, but in everything through prayer and petition, offer your thanksgivings to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses understanding, will fill your hearts and your minds. The world doesn't have that peace. The world doesn't have that hope. But we do. Now, the church, because of that hope, because of that peace, we've responded in crises in unique ways. We've been at the forefront of seeking the health and welfare of our community, of putting ourselves in harm's way to help save others. But in this time, where what we're facing is called a pandemic, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to stop the spread of a virus, it means that we're going to have to take actions where the very best things that we can do is limit our contact with people for a time. People are going to get sick. People are going to contract this virus. The death rate is higher than the flu. We don't know all the answers. The experts are giving us numbers. But we know these things are going to happen. But even as we're aware that these things are going to happen, we're going to respond. We should respond with the very best sense of what can we do. And so we've been praying, we've been talking, And what we've decided to do is for this Sunday, we are not going to gather on our campus for worship. Instead, we're inviting everybody to gather online. We have two different ways that you can gather with us at 9:45. On Facebook, and we would say this would be the preferred method of gathering, because on Facebook you can actually engage in the service where there's already about sometimes 50, 60, even 70 people who gather on Sunday morning on Facebook and are part of the service. And they greet one another and they respond during the message. And we're excited about the opportunity for us to have this sort of online gathering so that we can gather for worship in a way that is both telling the world that we care and is committed to giving glory to God. If you're not able to go on Facebook, you can go onto the website. You can see the website's address up there, and you want to go to the live stream section. You won't be able to engage, but you'll still be able to participate. One of the things to know is that, when you think about doing this, realize that we're going to choose to worship. And so that means that we're going to get ready. It's a 9:45 service. We're going to have, whether it's our television or our tablet, we're going to have it set up. If you have a family, gather the whole family together. Cut out all of the distractions and be prepared as a family of saying, okay, this isn't the best of all circumstances, but we're going to worship today because that's what it means to be a Christian. And we're doing this in love because we want to both glorify God, and instead of gathering and potentially passing on a disease, we are going to gather this way so that we can try to stop the spread of this disease. We've also decided, along with the state of emergency declared by our governor, that we are canceling all of our large events. Wednesdays at Westside, the Wednesday morning Bible study, Morning Glory, all of these things where we have large numbers of people coming in. We're committed to working with smaller groups of people, but we are going to try to limit the groups that are utilizing the church building, because we're going to try to limit the ability for this virus to spread. Finally, I just want to encourage us that we're going to live the golden rule. I sent out an email yesterday and I talked about the fact that I'm on a plane next to a lady who's coughing for 5.5 hours. And I am pretty sure that's why I've been sick for the last week. And I wish that she would have at least come on the plane with a mask, or maybe not traveled at all. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to listen to the best information that we have. We're going to try to avoid spreading disease. We're going to limit our activities where we gather with large groups of people. We're going to wash our hands. If we're sick, we're going to stay home and we're going to isolate so that we don't spread the disease. There's lots of safety features about particularly how the coronavirus spreads. It's all in the email. I encourage you to read those things and to educate and to be prepared. What do I do? But the other part with the golden rule is not just what we're going to avoid, but we're also going to realize this. In the days, the weeks, the months ahead, we're going to need to be neighbors to other people who are going to need help. We're going to work on this together. We're going to have to figure out ways of how do we get supplies and resources to people when they're sick and they're at home and they can't get out and they don't have enough things. We're going to pray. One of the things that this Sunday's sermon is all about is the prayer for healing. It's one of the reasons why I want to invite you to gather with us online, because as a community, we are going to lift up in a unified voice prayers to God for the salvation of this world and for protection from the coronavirus. One of the best things that we can do is pray, because it releases God's power. Through prayer and petition, the peace of God which surpasses understanding. And the idea of peace is not a feeling, it's shalom. It's this idea of a wellness, and it includes healing with it. We believe our God can heal. And we can look at experts and we should look at doctors, but they're all going to be pressed to the limits in this pandemic. But only God is not anxious in these times. And so let's look to Him. So I want to invite you. We're going to share more in the future. We know that we'll do this next week, because one of the things we'll plan on is we're going to have a special session meeting, and session will make decisions about long-term decisions about gathering for worship and what and how. But today we just wanted to give you this message. This is our plan for this weekend. This is our plan for our large gatherings in the weeks ahead. And we'll bring you more information, and we're going to work at new ways of really connecting together online and all through all different means of communication that we have, so that even as we take a stance and a position, that we're going to try to help our community stop the spread of this virus. We will be a community together as Westsiders, both in prayer and in action, of seeking God's glory and the salvation of our world. Thanks.